As today on Budget Commander, we're going to go over a deck tech of elementals with the new Omnath, Locus of all. So Dominic, why don't you explain what your deck actually does?
Okay. You see, my deck is I can play multiple lands per turn if I have the right cards.
Like Exploration, Azusa, Lost But Seeking.
And you can play an additional one for the basic.
So that's 5. It'd be 5 lands a turn, pretty much.
Yeah. So, and I can also gain life and create tokens too.
Yeah. So what was some of the things that you would have put in? So what do you like about this deck that makes it different?
Well, I like it because well, I not only get to play multiple lands, but I can also deal a lot of damage to my opponents.
Okay. So let's look at this deck real quick and let's see. So some of the key things is yeah. So you have like Conducts of Worlds in here for getting your lands back, which is kind of thing, and then like Euro the Descent for double the landfall, and the Greenwood, the Guardian, Greenwood Guardian is another one. Ancient Greenwood Guardian's one, so you just keep, which is kind of like these two together, but still. And then you have some stuff that just gets lands off triggers. So pretty easy. I think like one card you'd want to put in maybe is like Abundance, just because you can get your lands faster, and then there is some little. I know if I had the deck, I'd probably just focus more on landfall triggers than anything, because you don't really need the elemental part, but it helps.
Yep.
So.
And with these two cards, every time for the Ancient Green Warden, every time I play a land, I get to, and a trigger activates, that trigger play gets to be activated again. And the York, basically that one does the same thing.
When a permanent enters the battlefield, causing it to double again.
So basically, certain triggers can be played 3 times, like a Omnath Locus of Creation.
Locus Creation doesn't do that. It would be Locus Creation. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you would get like 4 life, and then you get 12 life if you had both out. And then you would gain, because it does 4 life, and you would double each. So then next one would be 4 mana. Then that would go to 12 mana because of it.
Yeah, and the last one is you deal 4 damage to each of your opponents, but
and planeswalkers.
And planeswalkers.
They control.
And it would go up to 12 if you have both.
Yeah, so it just annihilates planeswalkers on the site because of that.
Yep, and it's actually a good way to end your opponent, because if they have only 12 life, you manage to play 3 lands. Your opponent. Not
to mention, you have to. I think the biggest thing is like the 12 mana right there. You just gain that. And then
yep.
With your new commander, you just, even if you would let that go away, you would just gain black mana.
Yep.
So that's 12 black mana all around.
Yep. And I could use it for anything I'd like.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. I think like the only other thing I wanted to put in for that new commander is like Chromatic Ori. And that's like with getting 12 black mana, that's great. But Chromatic Ori, that 12 mana becomes any color when you use it. And then the fact that you have the draw for each color permanent.
Yeah, and plus I have a few maze monsters that gives my multicolored creatures, like my commander and a few others, like haste, trample, flying.
The maze ones, yeah, they'll allow you to get all multicolored creatures.
Yeah. So they
basically one of every ability, and then that way, except for like double strike and first strike, I think in lifelink are like the biggest 3 you don't get, but still, the fact that you get Death Touch with trample with the 2 is just out of it.
Yep. So if you manage to have the one with trample and the one with death touch, you're pretty much set as long as your opponent doesn't do a board wipe or bounce them back to your hand.
The reason is because, if no one's known, is with death touch and trample, when a creature has both, they only deal 1 point to that creature, and that's lethal. So then the trample will go. So with trample, you'll go whatever that is, because trample is whatever damage is left over would go through. But with death touch and trample, with death touch you're dealing 1 point, then whatever goes through. So like, for instance, if I wanted to use let's just use an example here. Let's just say so let's get him. Let's say we can get him up to like 12 or something. Maybe get Madrotha. So Madrotha's a 6/6. If it had death touch and trample, I would swing with Madrotha, and then you would block with this little. You would block. So what happens is, I'll deal 1 damage. That's lethal because of death touch, and then it'll trample over for the 5. So it makes it a little broken. Then it will effectively resolve as normal for damage.
Yeah, and plus with the amount of tokens that I can gain, that's just insane.
Like I said, I think I would focus more on like landfall shenanigans.
Yep.
Because there's a lot that you could do with that, and then Omnath, I think just put it in the chromatic ori because you get that extra mana. What we found was like a Shaya, and then the new Nissa. But with these two, if you get enough creatures out, you just cast her. You don't even have to swing with a Shaya. You could, but you just cast her, alter, and then all your creatures are getting +1/+1 for each force. So that's like each creature, and if you have a way to make them where it's all your creatures are, or all your lands are forced as well, like the Nymph, for example.
Yep.
That's just a lot. I think like the only issue, because I think if you want to, there's 2 ways around this. You could do Sneak Way, where you just have a big wall, deal damage. Or if you want to go aggressive, maybe Sword of the Amethyst would help if you want to go that route. If you want to go aggressive route, swinging every single time, because then you get your land no matter what. But there's a lot of ways to go around that. But yeah. That's what I would say is probably the easiest way to do something. So, yeah, this deck was like, I'm gonna say maybe, it's probably like if you want to build it so much, because I know cards fluctuate in price, so I'm not gonna sit here and try to go through every single card. I'd say maybe $60, maybe 70, pushing it if you want to get like Worldly Tutor, all those expensive cards. But if you want to do like a budget one, I'd say maybe 50 just to run it.
Yeah, and plus there is
deck list. Just put in the comments, let us know.
Yep.
If you want to see a deck that we've used on the gameplays, you want to see a deck list of that, I'm pretty sure we're more than happy to get deck lists out.
Yep.
To give you guys ideas. I do state some of our deck lists there is price values. So if you need to look onto a budget side, which is what we try to do, but clearly sometimes that doesn't happen. Or sometimes we get a card out of like a pack or something and we don't realize it's jumped from maybe $10 to $100.
Yep.
Because like, I think the last thing I'd say is like, yeah. So, but yeah, check us out on Facebook. It's Budget Commander. It's a fan page you can look at, and or put a comment down in here. So yeah, this elemental deck, it's pretty powerful.
Yep. you can win several battles, but the only problem is it all depends. It honestly all depends on your opponent, because if you have, because
the only biggest issue I'd say, like immediate threat on field, is anything like the new Elish Nord. Any cards like the new Elish Nord state, enter battlefield cannot trigger.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I'd say you find a way to blow that up, bounce it, get rid of it, just find a way to take it off the field, because that's going to be the only thing that slows that deck down. So, other than that, like, I think the two cards we said that, like I said, Abundance, and if you wanted to run a Planeswalker in it or two besides Nissa, Lord Raingrace would always be a good option. Just because you're drawing more cards, you're going for more answers, and then you can get those lands back with him. But yeah, anything else? Let us know in the comment below. We'll do more deck attacks like this. Probably gonna try more around every episode or two of our gameplays.
Yep.
So when there's a new deck, we might go into more depth. I think maybe our next episode will be one of the precons from March of the Machine.
Yep.
Which is the incubator one. One of our friends, he upgraded it, so I think on the next gameplay you might see that one. Next gameplay or two, you might see that one actually be played and see how powerful it is. So.
And make sure that you like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you want to see more.